Call the meeting to order. She's on her way. Daniel will join us shortly, but in the meantime, welcome. Join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so the next item on our agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Make a motion.
All right, I have a first. Do I have a second? Second. I have a first and a second. Do you have any questions before we vote on the agenda? Yeah. On the whole agenda?
First off, I wanted to find out if we could amend the agenda so that we can go over that one contract and find out how you felt it was.
Which contract?
For one of the consultation boards, whatever the meeting was. I haven't, let me grab it. I can't get on it
The
yet.
observation annual license. Go ahead, sorry.
Okay,
I'm looking at the.
Yeah, but the contract agreement, so there's the IE observation annual license, or there's the QHS student board representatives field request.
There's one contract that we
Oh.
have, one agreement.
this one, the IE observation annual license.
Okay,
What is that exactly?
That is that's our electronic system of how we evaluate all of our teachers. So it's what our administrators use to make sure that we're recording our observation notes and then our final evaluations, and then that's what's reported in the personnel final.
And how are they evaluated?
Through the Washington State TPEP framework, which is a state mandated, state aligned. There's 8 different criteria on that. Yeah.
All right, and then I wanted in accounts payable, we have a secured mobility LLC of tablets. Was that for the school buses? It's
What's
the
the,
mobility LLC?
Do we want to adopt? Yeah,
Before we get to consent discussion.
Thank you. Yeah, so
Okay.
let's adopt the whole agenda. So do I have everybody in favor of adopting the agenda tonight?
yeah,
Aye. Okay. The ayes have it. So now we can talk about, next is public comment, then we'll get to the consent agenda, if that's okay,
Okay.
Rita. Sorry, just to keep us on our agenda here. So any public comments tonight? Did anybody sign up?
No.
Nope. Makes that easy. Next is the consent agenda, which Rita, we already know you have some questions on. So I have a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I move to accept the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
I second.
And now we can ask any questions we want. So we talked about the contract, and then you wanted to ask about the tech. Sean is furiously searching on his phone. I see him over there.
So it's Tia.
what's that, Tia? Do you know?
That is related to smart tag.
Okay,
Our bus systems for.
those would be the tablets.
The tablets and
For the buses?
Correct, yeah,
Tap
yeah.
on, tap off.
yeah.
I
and-
just wanted to make sure that's what it was. I kind of figured that it was, but
Yep.
I wanted to make sure. And then in our AMN Allied Services, we have 6 contracts that we are approving. What exactly are they?
We get there really quick.
On page 22 is the first 5, and on 59 is the second one.
And that's on the accounts payable.
Uh-huh.
What's that?
So
It's our speech and language pathologist payment.
Did you?
Uh-huh. And this is monthly?
I believe it is billed monthly to the ESD, yes. And then do we have another provider?
Sunshine's nodding.
We have, SLPs that are through the ESD and providers.
And through the
that are Other contracts.
other contract, yes.
Okay,
Good, yeah.
and tell me again, what was the LID,
LID is Learning Improvement Day.
learning? Improvement?
Yep.
Okay, and then I wanted to find out, the count number in the accounts payable is not necessarily the number of people.
That's correct.
So in
For checks.
paras, you can't decide what it is they're actually getting for a monthly. So what is the point of our reading this? I mean, I don't understand why we're going through all of this if we can't read it, who can? As
That's,
a board.
yeah, that is just one of the duties of the board is to approve payroll. And then in our payroll system, that's how our payroll runs, payroll is by those individual pay line codes. And that gives an aggregate for that will feed into Skyward for their total monthly salary. If you have questions, we can help, what an average para who's worked here for X amount of years, we could break that down and
Yeah.
so you just have a general understanding, kind of the ranges.
I think that would be a really good idea.
Okay.
I really think that, we need to look at it.
Sure.
We
Sure.
have talked about that in board leadership, about adding that.
Huh?
We've talked about that in board leadership, about adding it to a future meeting as its own item.
Yep.
So,
And that contract, that salary contract is up this year, so we'll be able to really get some good comparables for you in all of our classified positions, not just paras, but bus drivers, cooks, all the positions in the PSC.
Okay, and then in student enrollment, how do we get a percentage of a child? Are these the kids that leave for half a day?
It could, yes, yeah, it's a student that would be partly
So they
enrolled
aren't
with us.
considered a day?
They would not be considered a 1.0. We count them under head count, but we can't count them as for FTE. And that FTE is how we're funded. So we're only funded for the amount of time that they're here.
And then how necessary is this contract to the IE observation annual license, the Marzano renewal? What is that?
Again, that's our teacher evaluation system, so it's pretty essential. It's how our
It's the
administrators.
same thing.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yes, yep.
And then on the trip request, is it necessary for 2 kids to have 3 adults go?
Well, for this one with the last
Just
trip
happened to be that there was-
request, it depends what the roles are. So that was Deanna, Shannon, and myself and the 2 students. And they went, in their board roles, I went as my superintendent role. So it really depends on the event. Yeah. So they weren't just there to chaperone. I was the primary chaperone with Shannon for the trip over.
Okay, and then when we discussed your letter, am I entitled to ask a question then?
absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, for
We
sure.
can move on.
Okay, so do we have a motion to adopt the consent agenda? Do you have any other questions? Motion to adopt the consent agenda then? I guess we already motioned and seconded, so all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. And now we're on to the reports. Quincy Innovation Academy, Ms. Burton.
Thank you, everyone, for coming. There should be a 2-page report there in your, did everyone get one?
Yep.
I do have a couple extras over there if anybody wants one. Well, thank you for coming to visit us here at Quincy Innovation Academy. It's always wonderful to have these opportunities to update the board on what's up with our school since the past year when it was last reported about. I wanted to start out tonight by just helping to really clarify what our programs are here at Quincy Innovation Academy. And I know we've covered that some before, but just to kind of help that start our conversation tonight so that you have that clear in your mind. We have really 3 main programs here at our school. The first one and our largest by far is our online learning program. We're serving grades 6 through 12. And students in our online learning program are learning primarily from home online. They have the opportunity to come in depending on their grade level and their needs, 1 or 2 days a week for in-person support, and the rest of the time they're online at home. They also have the availability of some Google Meet times that are a little bit like office hours and a little bit like lessons, kind of a combination of those things. An additional couple of days a week with their advisor online. And the online learning program falls under alternative learning compliance rules and regulations through OSPI. So it's a little different than basic education. In the online learning program, students have to meet with their advisor at least once a week. They have to have monthly reviews. And if they aren't making adequate progress in their online learning, then we are required to put in intervention plans into place. And all of this is documented and audited as needed by the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction. We have had lots of growth in that program. We'll talk about that more in a little bit when we get into the numbers. So online learning is our largest program by far. Then we have our big picture learning program. And big picture learning is actually not, we actually have 2 entities here. So like in our Skyward informational system, there's the big picture learning program and then the rest of Quincy Innovation Academy. You know, when we are, the Office of School and System Improvement identifies them separately as different entities. So the way that they look at school improvement frameworks is different for those 2 groups. And as I was saying, the online learning group is a part of the alternative learning compliance expectations, but big picture learning is not considered alternative learning. It's not a part of that system, and that system doesn't govern that group. It's a special program. And we're part of the mastery-based learning cohort group that has given us some grant money to help fund big picture learning. It's been part of an innovative program, and big picture learning has an actual waiver from the state from traditional graduation credit and course requirements. And instead, students are working towards 6 areas of competency that are intended to help them with post-high school, school, or work. Students do internships at the high school level in an area of interest. And we are working really hard to make sure that those are as often as possible oriented to community service type roles when we can. So those are amazing. And students in our big picture learning are coming in person 5 days a week unless they're out on internships. In our high school room, we have most of our students doing internships on Tuesdays and Thursdays, some just for the afternoon, some for a little bit longer amount of time. In our middle school room, we usually don't have middle school students heading out on internships, but we might, as they move towards 8th grade, have them doing job shadows for a day here or there. And in both of those rooms, we try to have the students doing lots and lots of visits to different career fields and jobs out in the community so they can really explore the different possibilities that they have for the world of work. So the big picture learning program is really focused on trying to help kids think about all the different possibilities that are out there and start exploring a path and getting some support from mentors out in the community that are in that field. Our 3rd program that I want to talk about is our Open Doors Re-engagement Plan. And this is in partnership with Big Bend Community College. It runs a little bit like Running Start, where students go to Big Bend and they learn there. But we partner with them, and the students are still considered our students, but they are serving them for us, and then we pay them to serve those students there. And the Open Doors program is really intended for students who either have dropped out of school completely or are so drastically far behind in credits that they're at high risk for dropping out. Typically, well more than 1 year behind. Usually, most of our students are more than 2 years behind before that is a program that we would consider. Kind of cool thing about the Open Doors program is that when students choose to be a part of that program, they're able to work towards high school credits. But sometimes if they start gaining back some high school credits and they're doing well, sometimes they can take college classes at Big Bend in one of the many programs that they have there. That's why they call it Open Doors. They try to give them lots of different ways that they could move forward with their learning. And get a little bit of college credit also as they're working towards their high school diploma. So that's an awesome program we have there. When you look down on the yellow side at kind of the bottom corner, it gives you just some numbers about our school and how these three programs get together. We have about 217 students total. It changes a little bit. We typically have a few new students every week. And just to give you an idea, we serve 6th through 12th grade, but 76 of our students are seniors. And another 50 are juniors. So we're very upperclassmen top heavy in our building. We do serve 27 students with disabilities and about 70 multilingual students. And I mentioned before that online learning is by far our biggest program. Our big picture learning program has about 25 students in it. Just had a new student start yesterday. In our middle school online program, we have about 36 students, and we have 116-ish in our high school online program. And right now we have 41 students in the Open Doors Dropout Reengagement program. That kind of gives you some numbers, but just to talk about what kind of students choose to come to Quincy Innovation Academy, there's a very wide range. We have students who are coming by choice because online learning attracts them and works better with their lifestyle or their family's needs. We have some students that have chosen the online learning program due to health issues that they're dealing with and appointments that they have, and the online learning is more flexible for that with them. And then we also have students that are coming to online learning because they've fallen behind in our traditional system, and they get up to that junior or senior year and they're not mathematically able in 7 periods a day to catch up all the courses that they have gotten behind in. But if they come into online learning and they're working at their own pace, it's possible for them to catch up. And so that we really do have a large section of our school that is made up of students that have gotten behind in their credits, and now they need to come in and try something else to try to recover those credits. And that includes, of course, the students that are in the Open Doors Reengagement program, where they've gotten more than a year or 2 years behind. So if we want to turn the page, that kind of gives you background a little bit about our school and the students that make up our school. So some celebrations. One is last year we had a record number of graduates. We were very happy to celebrate with 26 students from QIA that earned their diplomas last year. And that was the highest number we've ever had from our school. So that was a real celebration. Last year, we really focused on improving attendance. It doesn't matter what kind of good things are going on here if they're not here to get them. And so we really emphasized and worked hard on attendance last year, and we were able to increase the percentage of students that were showing strong attendance. And what OSPI considers strong attendance is being here 90% of the time or more, from around 40% the year prior to about 64% is what we're looking at so far halfway through this year. We also are just really thankful about the wonderful community support in Quincy. All kinds of businesses and agencies in our community have been really welcoming to our students in helping to mentor them and give them experiences in lots of different settings. We've had students working with the police department, with City Hall, at the senior center, at the animal shelter, at the Fuller House, with Crazy Lady Catering, lots of different places where they're opening their arms and welcoming in our students. And giving them really good job experience skills and mentoring them on the world of work.
Colleen, can I add one more mentoring
Yeah.
experience? One of the interns helped build the ChatGPT bot for your the policy and procedure that's on our website now. So that was
Yeah,
one of our
so
interns.
we've got a student that works with our IT department, and that's been an amazing internship for experience for him. And I think he's able to contribute and help get some things done for them too. So that's awesome. Yeah, he was here earlier helping to set all this up. Yes. And we have some students that are interested in maybe being teachers that are helping in classrooms around the district, getting some job experience with that as well. So those are wonderful opportunities for our students. We just really appreciate the community members that are willing to do that. We also really appreciate community members such as Chad came and come on Wednesday mornings, we have talks about different careers and invite people from different career fields to come and just talk to our kids about different career fields that are out there and what it's like, what education is needed for it, what are the job duties like. And so that we've had really good support from the community and being willing to come and share with our kids about different careers. So we appreciate that too. As of this, when we were typing this up was right before winter break. We had over 260 courses for credit completed this year, which is amazing. So that's just so far since school started this school year in our high school online program. And that's not counting courses that students are completing in Open Doors. That was just high school online. That's amazing. And then another big celebration is that this school year, we have had the lowest number of office discipline referrals that we've had in 3 years. And we love that. We've been really emphasizing working on social emotional learning and helping students find healthy ways to solve conflicts. And that helps a lot with discipline referrals being reduced. So those are some of our celebrations. Areas where we need to definitely continue to improve. Our graduation rate is not what we want it to be. We want to continue to help more and more students be ready for graduation. Keeping in mind that many students come to us because they're so far off from graduation. We just want to close that gap and get them closer, even if it takes that 5th year. We want to keep them going until they graduate. So that our graduation rate hovered around 50%, and that is part of what identified us as a school in need of improvement, along with almost all the other alternative schools across the state of Washington. We're in good company there. We all need to work harder at helping to get our kids graduated. We also need to really work on support for our multilingual students, especially in the areas of speaking and writing. Our students, like students in the rest of our district and many other areas as well, did a lot better in reading and listening than they did in speaking and writing. And so we need to continue to work to help our students do a better job of expressing their ideas, thinking about things and expressing them, as opposed to just passively listening or reading and taking in information. They need to be able to work and think with it and then put out their own ideas. So we're going to keep working on that. We also, and again, as similar to the state and peers across the state and to others in our district, we need to really work on math instruction. And we have made some good strides in that, I believe, this year already. One of the things that we've done is reorganized our big picture learning, in-person learning setup. And although you can work a lot of reading and writing and communicating into almost any career field and project, the linear nature of math is harder to work in to some of those individualized projects. And so we just have expanded a designated math time that's working in a more linear fashion at those grade level standards to really help move our students along in their math understanding. And so our teachers, our students in BPL are all getting, everyone is getting a period of math every day that's just a little bit extended from what they previously got, in addition to some backfilling and trying to fill in of some skills that they missed earlier in their regular classroom time. So we've added math instructions. We've sent a couple of teachers to math conferences to come back with more ideas about how to help our students continue to be thinking mathematically. And it's early days yet, but we were able to see, we just did some STAR testing next week. It's not all complete, but early results are showing that our high school big picture learning students in particular made some really nice growth in math between fall and winter. So we look forward to seeing over a more longer period of time whether or not some of these changes are helping them. We need to continue as a challenge to figure out how to support intervention for math students who are online that are not in front of us. It's really hard to help support students that are struggling in math that are in online programs that are not coming on the in-person days for help. It's easier to do when they come in person. So we continue to work on that. And then another challenge, an area that we're continuing to work on, is our culture of safety and belonging as a school. When our students did the Panorama City Survey last school year, one of the lowest scoring areas was their own self-efficacy, their own belief that they can succeed in school. And when students don't have a belief that they can be successful in school and reaching their future goals, then they lose motivation to keep working hard toward it. You know, if they think 25 credits, are you kidding me? I'm never going to be able to get 25 credits and graduate, then they're never going to get there because they'll stop trying. So really working on building our students' self-efficacy as a part of overall nurturing of hope. When you came in, you might have seen on the bulletin board, our hope bulletin board, and pictures of our students doing all kinds of things that are helping them get to their future goals. And we want to continue to work hard to help them with that so that they will be motivated to be pouring into themselves, investing in themselves by working hard and being engaged in their learning. And then just a couple more things. New developments are things that are a little different this year from when I spoke to the board last. I mentioned about that we restructured the big picture learning class schedule to increase math instructional time and be more intentional about math specific instruction, not just woven into their projects, but out as a kind of a separate pullout. We also have restructured our support for students with disabilities who are learning online. Our students with disabilities that are in online learning, when they're choosing online learning, they're often losing a lot of the support that they may have had in person in a traditional school setting, and that can be really challenging transition for them. And so one of the things we're working on is requiring them, even though they're online, to come in person for the first couple of weeks of transitioning to the online learning program, and then slowly let them go more and more online to try to, when they've shown that they can navigate our system and they know how to be successful in this different kind of style of learning. And more importantly than that, that they know how to reach out for help and who to reach out for help to, and what are the different tools that they can use to help them with their learning. So we're working hard on that. Another exciting thing that we're working on, and this is, we just met with them before Christmas break, and this is pretty new, but we're working on a partnership with SkillSource Moses Lake that they have a program that's a part of the Department of Vocational Rehabilitation. And they're really invested in trying to help students, in particular students with disabilities, but many students who are at risk for various reasons, to leave high school ready for the workforce. And so their program is going to come in and visit our high school BPL class and teach some things like resume writing and tips for job interviews and some of those kinds of career readiness skills. But in addition to that, they may be working individually with some students in our online program to be like another person who's checking in, another case manager who's checking in and motivating and encouraging them to keep going with their learning, and potentially help some of them that are looking at jobs. Some of our students that are in the online program have chosen that because they're working, trying to help them be successful in those job experiences and maybe even helping them line up jobs or internships, paid or not, that can help them continue to be ready for work after they leave school if they haven't already started while they're in school. And then the last big new development is our amazing continued growth in enrollment. 217 sounds like a small number, but 3 years ago it was 75. So that's, you know, triple the growth, and it's double what we were at the beginning of last year. So we've definitely continued to grow. We have our 2 high school online teachers are in overload. They're beyond their class size. And we have started turning away students from other communities that really want an online learning experience. Typically, we could bring FTE into the district by accepting those students and have had in the past, but since we're in overload, we're just concentrating on our own district students right now. But that's an area of continued need in the region that I see as a great possibility for us. If we have enough staff capacity, pulling in students from outside the district can help bring their dollars with them, and we can support more kiddos that way. We did do a little adjusting. We moved half of a teacher from supporting big picture learning over to online to add more to where there was more need for teaching and more students. But even with that, we're still overloaded. So the huge growth in those areas, I think, is not a bubble, but a trend. I think more and more families and students are seeing online learning as an option that might work for their families. And I expect us to continue growing, especially in that area. That gives you kind of an overview of what we've got going on here. Do you have questions for me?
Are there issues with 6th graders juniors and seniors?
I haven't had a single discipline referral this year that had anything to do with the different grades.
Are they in the same classes?
Our sixth, seventh, and eighth graders are mostly together, and then our high school groups are together. Keeping in mind that a lot of our students aren't even here on campus. A majority of the time, they'll just come 1 or 2 days a week. But no, we really haven't. Our discipline referrals have been amazing. One of the things that comes up sometimes is vaping. We have vaping come up every once in a while. That's a comment of a higher discipline referral, but that has gone way down this year as well. We were able to get vape detectors installed last year, the beginning of last year, I think. And word's out, I think. And so we have not had as many of those, although I will tell you that the vape detector goes off more often during state testing week. So just notice a correlation there. Draw what conclusions you will. But we have had greatly reduced efforts for that. I have not had a fight all year. Yeah, and not one fight the whole year. I've never been a principal in a school that hasn't had a single fight by January. It's amazing. So our teachers are working really hard on helping students with those social emotional skills, conflict management, opportunities to take a break, opportunities, places you can go to take a walk, cool off. So that has been amazing. Yeah, that really helps. Yeah.
In the past, we've had conversations about the graduation rates and how things all fit. So the big picture learning, you said, is on their own separate track.
They
Does that
are.
Fit in, so in the graduation rates, that doesn't fit into the other paths to graduation? Or
Yeah, so they do not have to do the same number of credits and courses as other students, but they still have to meet a graduation pathway. And that actually is still sometimes a challenge for our students. So it's so complicated how you get to graduate in Washington State, but there are multiple pathways and we try to work with them to find the one that'll work the best for them. Last year, we only had 3 seniors in that program when we were able to graduate 2 out of 3, but then that gave us a 66% graduation rate for that program. This year we're on track to maybe have 100%, 5 out of 5 we think are gonna make it through. So that'll be amazing. But really the graduation rate, big concern is in the online program. What they are counting for graduation rate is that on-time graduation rate is what they're really looking at. We would want our students to graduate in 4 years, but we don't care if it takes 5, just keep going. Yeah.
So once they're past 4 years, does that push them into the open?
Not necessarily. No, we have a lot of 5th-year seniors that if they're close enough, they just keep going in the online program. It's very individually determined based on what else they have going on in their life. And one of the nice things about online program is we have some students that, and sometimes it's in their 5th year or not, that are getting done at all times of the year. We just had our first one for this year who completed everything for graduation. And also the last 2 years, we've had at least 1 or 2 kids that graduate early before their 4 years because they can move at their own pace. So there's a little bit of that
The
too.
graduation rate that is established here in this building, is it lumped together with high school, which gets reported?
We're separate, but unfortunately, what's really unusual about QIA is we have very few students from 9th grade all the way through 12th.
Right.
Like they come at different times all along that path. We're getting to where we'll have more that have come through the middle school online program that are staying with us, and that may be more eventually. But the way that works is from when they started high school, wherever they started high school, until they should graduate, that is what counts. So if they come to me in May of their senior, they count on our graduation rate, not high school. Yeah. So
How does that work? What gets reported? So when you go look at the graduation report on our OSBI website, is that not?
So out of the 70 seniors that we have, now that I should have, some of ours are 5th-year seniors, so they're already not in that group. But out of the kids that it's their 4th-year seniors, they just take the percentage that we have on our rolls that graduate, that should have graduated, and that's it. Like if they're on our rolls, they're counted in our number. Yeah. It's a great question.
We still have a district overall graduation rate.
Right.
And that's everybody
Right.
in our system, but
Yeah.
then you can, on the OSPI report card, then you can look at QIA, but Colleen's building is different because then it's big picture graduation rate and online graduation
Yeah.
rate. Colleen is essentially running two separate schools here.
We have
So
two
it's- yeah, it's
separate school
concerned.
improvement plans.
Two separate schools.
The Office of School and System Improvement has designated the online program as in improvement, but our big picture learning program is not designated as improvement. So we have different rules and things for those groups. Yeah.
That's simple.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing since you're in the improvement plan, then there's been some audits of the online course.
Last year they did start to pull a few documents, but they went to the level where they decided not to continue with a full audit, but we haven't heard yet for this year. Most alternative learning programs experience that, from what I'm hearing from peers in the community,
Yeah.
at least once every 3 or 4 years, about every 3 years at least-ish. So our turn is probably coming soon.
Then my last question was just with the Open Doors program, is there an average age for Open Doors students?
They're required to be 16 years or older. And I haven't added it up, but just thinking about our students that are there, we have a lot of students that are 17 and 18, a lot of 17 and 18-year-olds in that program. We've tried not to put students into that program at age 16 if we think we could still intervene in other ways first. Unless they are 16 and more than 2 years behind, then we might consider putting them in the
And
program.
last thing on that, monitoring of internships. So like if they go to a job twice a week, does whoever they're interning with keep track of attendance and all that kind of stuff and report back?
Yeah, our high school big picture learning advisor sets up a meeting before they start the internship process, and there's a whole packet explaining what the expectations are, and it includes the check-ins back and forth with the advisor. And what's really cool is that we have a digital system where they are able to not only enter what they're doing in their internship, but they're also doing some reflecting on what they learned from these different pieces. And that's something that the intern supervisor, the BPL supervisor, and the student are all able to see and work and communicate through as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's multiple ways that we can keep checking on how those internships are going. And they're having to show evidence as they go along of what they're learning in that setting.
On the use of language thing, I feel their pain having taken online courses in college. Like you go to a group chat and then everyone says they're minimal and then moves on with their lives. Okay, so I understand that's hard, but let's go. That's all.
Yeah, the online part's tricky, and it's like so many things in life. They can really get out of it what they put into it, and we continue to encourage them to make the most of their learning, not just check their boxes and move on as best we can. Yeah.
For online learners, are they a full FTE?
They are. In fact, what's interesting about online learning is the state has a different mix, and Tia could speak to this better than I could, but they have a little different mix of how they fund students that are in that alternative learning experience setting. So this would be online, not big picture learning. And we get, I believe, 1.2 FTE for each kid. So we get more than 1 FTE in funding back for online kids. So there are some communities that have chosen to really grow those online programs, both for the convenience and having another opportunity for students, but also because it brings in a little bit more money.
So what is the max class size?
It's 50 for full-time online high school teacher. Yeah, 50. So we have one teacher that's 65. And then our other high school online learning teacher is half-time BPL and half-time online. So his half-time load would be 25 and he has, I think, 35 or 36. And then our middle school teacher, we keep all the 6th, 7th, and together. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade is a little different because she's able to have them in similar classes and assignments as a grade band and then do more workshopping because kids are moving through things at the same time. In the high school online program, one kid might be taking algebra 2, somebody else is in geography, somebody else is taking psychology. They're not all starting and stopping in course at the same time. So it's all very individualized and is a little different.
So I'm guessing it's not this simple, but I mean, how many more students would it take to justify another teacher in another class?
It's an amazing question, one that I am tracking and communicating with Dr. Bergman on quite a bit. Right now, a full class is 50 students, and It's only January and we usually see a lot of, over the past 3 years, the trend has been, we get a lot more students in January, February, after the first semester grades come out. We get a lot more students coming over. So we'll wait and see what we get for that. And we may have to shut it down and say, sorry, we can't take any more students this year, and make a plan for next year. And see how that works. And all of the schools start those staffing and budget discussions with Dr. Bergen and the team in February. So we're right there starting to ask those questions.
Yeah, we're monitoring it very closely.
Go ahead,
There's a lot of
sorry.
potential there.
Huh?
There's a lot of potential to grow the program.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I missed.
I
which-
just wondered now, you say she's got 50 students. Are they trying to contact her throughout this period?
It's a wide variety. So if you take the, a class of 50 students, they're all in these different classes. There's the in-person days. So some of those students are getting contact during those in-person days. There's at least 2 and sometimes 3 Google Meet times on the other days. And we try to do those around 10 in the morning to kind of get our kids ramped up for the day. And, everybody talks at that meeting about what's your plan for the day, what's your schedule for the day, which assignments are you working on? It's another good chance for them to check in. And then when they aren't in those settings where there is a teacher right there, they can still email the teacher, remind the teacher. There is a chatbot tutor within the online system they're using that can sometimes help them. And we have been working really hard on teaching them how to use AI tools to help them with their learning and look into different things. One of the AI tools we've been exploring is School AI, has something called subject-specific tutors. And Maria, the math tutor from School AI, gets a lot of action around our building when kids, aren't at a time when they can reach out to their classroom teacher. We also have specialized hours. So our teacher that has the most experience teaching math has a specialized online time that's just math tutoring, just math support. Anybody who needs help with whatever you're working on, this is the time to come. It is challenging to get kids to log in at the time that is available for them for help sometimes, but we're trying to make those opportunities as often as we can.
Or other free resources like Khan Academy or anything? Is that
Yeah, we used.
curriculum you're using? Or?
Yeah, we've used that a little bit. Some kids find those resources helpful. Some kids find them helpful if the teacher finds the right video that might help them and sends them. Other kids are more skilled at searching out those kinds of supports for themselves. So kind of a combination. And then we have been exploring some other tools, one called Math Nation, and a couple of other supports for math specifically. There's a lot of things out there. And part of the magic is trying to find the tool that works for that kid and that they will remember how to use and go to and have some success with, so that then they keep going back to it. And so we're really exploring with a lot of different tools right now, to be honest, instead of trying to get them all into one. And different things will stick with different kids. So some kids will go right back to Maria, the math tutor on School AI, and other ones, they're just really interested in the chatbot support from Edgenuity. Somebody else is like, I'm waiting until Tuesday. I'm going to go ask Mr. Lemke. I'm just going to show up and ask him. And so we just are trying to give all these different options so that kids have lots of choices to get support. Yeah, thank you. These are great questions.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I think I'm up next again with Sarah.
I was gonna say, don't walk too far away. Transitional kindergarten update.
She gets it over with one meeting. Thank you, Colleen.
So also happy to get a chance to talk to you about our transition to kindergarten program. And with me is Sarah Houskin, our lead for the transition to kindergarten program. Sarah's been teaching in the program for you're right. I've added up 4 years. So that's awesome. And I'm gonna let her start out talking to you a little bit about our program, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about the data that we're seeing from this awesome program. Okay, go for it, Sarah. All right. Go ahead, you can click to the next one there. Like there it goes.
Okay, so going back to our strategic plan, starting strong, this is one of the main pieces that the district has put in place to help with that. Our program we've presented before, and there's not very many new faces, but a general review is our program is designed for 4-year-olds who have not had any access to early learning. So our main like disqualifier is if they've had any early learning already. So private preschool, Head Start, ECAP, any of those things, they are not eligible for our program. So then out of those kids, we're really looking for the kiddos that haven't had access to early learning, and we don't think would be quite ready for kindergarten without some extra support. And that could mean social emotional, it could mean academic, families that qualify in order to be accepted. You have to meet one of the 4 criteria. So you either have to be free and reduced lunch or have a significant delay academically or social emotionally, or there's another one. Oh, lack of access to preschool. So some families don't necessarily fall into those other categories, but there is a unique circumstance which doesn't allow their child to have access to preschool. And then once we select our students, they are offered a full day, 5 days a week program. It's ran in the same style as kindergarten as far as having access to specialists and all those other things, but the program itself is very different than kindergarten. It's play-based. We do have academic standards that will be reflected in the data that is going to be shown, but our main goal is to produce socially, emotionally sound 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds that can walk into a kindergarten classroom ready to learn. They're ready to be kind to friends. They're ready to share. They probably know what their name is and how to hold a pencil, because as a longtime kindergarten teacher, you often get children on the first day of school that don't know what their name is, or don't know have never held a pencil before, or scissors, or Play-Doh, or anything else. So although that seems pretty generic, but that is one of our goals, is that like just that they know who they are and how to interact with other people. Some of these kiddos have had the privilege of being raised by family members and never being anywhere but with mom or grandma or grandpa, which is amazing. But that also sometimes doesn't allow an opportunity to interact with other children in any kind of setting, have to hear the word no from any other adult other than their parents or family members. So it's a very holistic process and approach. We are working on academic things, but that is by far not our main purpose of our program. So I think that was, oh, there's one more for me. Our program, we offer it in 3 schools. We're at Mountain View, Monument, and and Pioneer, but we do serve the whole district. So at this year, across our 3 schools, there's 12 Mountain View students being served, 8 Pioneer, and 12 Monument. ALE, we serve 11 students spread across our 3 buildings. And then George, we serve 5 students spread across 2 buildings. We do keep a waiting list. And this year we still have 24 students on our wait list. We were able to pull, no, sorry, we have 22. We had 24. We've been able to place 2 students since school started. Someone moved, somebody after the first week decided it just wasn't the right fit for their family. And it really depends year to year how many kids get moved off of that waiting list, because it totally depends on just personal circumstances. So that was my quick little synopsis. So I'll let you go.
We'll talk a little bit about what kind of results we're getting. So I did put a packet, just because there's lots of numbers on these charts so that you would have something right in front of you if you prefer to see it on paper. And don't worry, we don't need to look at every single box on here and all these numbers, but I wanted you to have it in case you wanted to look into it in more detail later. But what you're looking at here is the state assessment that is used to measure how our preschool and kindergarten students, our early learners, are doing. It's called WAKIDS. The WAKIDS assessment is testing how kids are doing in all of these domains that you see down the left side, how they're doing with their social emotional skills, how they're doing with their literacy, pre-literacy skills, how they're doing with their physical development and skills, math, their cognitive thinking ability, and their language. And without going into all of the rows and all of the details, you can see that in the very first top row is the percentage of students in each of these groups that was considered ready for kindergarten by kindergarten in 5 or 6 of those domains. And if you look across, the green column is those students who had a QSD transition to kindergarten experience last year. Our kids that had TK last year, this is the percentage of them that were ready for K in 5 to 6 domains, or the percentage of them that were ready in each of those individual domains. And you can compare that with the other columns, and without looking at every box, you can see the green column is higher in every single area than the other groups. And the other groups include students that had no early learning experience at all. They didn't do TK or anything. And the group of students who did have some kind of preschool, just not our TK program. And over on the yellow column, that is all of the kindergarten students combined. So this is how they did on their fall of this year kindergarten, the students that we had last year in TK, how they did when they came to kindergarten. And I'm not sure that Sarah even emphasized enough all of those factors that we're using to determine which kids get the highly desired TK spots. We are taking those students that are the neediest or the most at risk for not being ready for kindergarten out of all of the interested people. And so for that group that was the least ready to come out as being the most ready by the time that after they'd had that experience is really dramatic. Yeah.
The white columns are those are state level metrics, or those that in?
Nope, that's Quincy data. That's Quincy data. So the students in our Quincy group of kindergartners that had some other kind of preschool, but not our TK, are the first white column. The second white column is kids in our kindergarten here at Quincy that had no experience at all. And the last one is all of our QSD kindergarten kids. And then the green one is our kiddos that had TK. And we have found this for 3 years that our students that are having TK are really, it's doing its job, and the students are going into kindergarten ready to roll and not needing as much intervention. So that's amazing. If you look at the next slide, and I know that these white letters can be hard to see, but don't even worry too much about the percentages. If you want those, I can type them up for you and get them to you. But just looking at these kind of colored bands, what you're looking at is the left of each pair is how the students were doing during their TK year in what we call the winter testing period, and then how they were doing the next year when they became kindergartners in the fall. And what we're looking for is more green, more of them ready in all 6 domains, and less red, less of them not ready in as many. And it's just over and over and over, year after year. This program is proving to really prepare students the way it's intended to. You can see it 3 years in a row. You know, and again, thinking about it's that most at-risk needy group, and to get them that far ahead is some of the more significant improvement data I've seen in lots of different programs in our district. So we're proud of that, and those teachers are working hard to get there.
That winter score is actually like they're coming into us. The way OSPI has their testing windows, we get them in the fall, but the data is not due until it switches over to their winter data. So all of those winter scores are actually like our entrance data, where they started the year with us. Not like we taught them a half a year and they still were a lot of red. That's where they came in.
Yeah, good clarification. So on the next one, we're looking at, so great, they did TK and they were ready for kindergarten and did better in kindergarten, but does it stick? We have some mixed information on that, but overall positive. This one is looking at kids who are when they're in first grade, and then comparing them to all of the kids in first grade, the kids who did or didn't have a TK experience. It's not as dramatic here. But it is still true that the kids who had a TK experience were less likely to be in that most severe red needing intervention. And they're still holding strong, even though they were that really most at-risk group, they're still holding on, even though it's not as dramatic as the TK to kindergarten numbers. But flip one more, and I want to show you the data going into second grade. So this is on a second grade, this happens to be in the area of reading. And when our second graders take their fall star reading, when we go back and compare the kids who were with us in TK back when they were 4, all the way up to second grade now, and keeping in mind that when these second graders were 4 years old, we only had 1 TK class. So you had to be
Right in it.
the first year, that year we had 2? I was thinking we were still the 1. So we only had 36 spots. And so in that group, that was like the most needy 36 4-year-old that we were pulling together for that group. Here we are all these years later in second grade, and that group of students is much less likely to need intervention than the group of all students. And yeah, way better numbers up here in the green and blue of them being doing well as far as STAR reading. So we have some good evidence that this is a program that's having the impact we want it to have, helping kids be more prepared, be less likely to fall behind, and less likely to need extra intervention as they move through. So we're really thankful that we have 3 classrooms available at this time. I also wanted to just make sure and mention to you, we still work very closely with other early learning partners in our community, including the Inspire Learning Centers, the ABC Academy, the Loving and Learning School, and preschool. And we're also, there's also a Catholic Charities kind of a play group starting to become a preschool group that meets at the Casakino apartments. And just an example would be that the leaders from these different groups, we get together, we kind of compare how things are going with enrollment, talk about things that are any great PD that we know is available, and we're sharing with each other professional development ideas for teachers. And last year we coordinated just going to visit each other's programs and sharing ideas of what was going well with each other, and just staying in close touch with each other. This is really important because there are some communities in our state where the public school TK program is really operating in isolation and sort of stealing kids from all these other programs. We're not about that at all. We're being very, very careful that if they are already in one of those programs, we don't touch them. We only want to capture the kids that don't have one of those other opportunities. So we're working really hard to partner with them and work together and not against each other in our community, and we're proud of that. And that is mainly I was trying to keep it really brief. Those are the main things to share about TK. We're trying to hit the kids who need it the most. The data shows us that it's working. And we're working with the people in our community to make sure that we're doing it in a way that supports the whole group, because all those other kids are coming, many of them, to our public schools as well. So we want to be one more piece of that puzzle and not a competitor in the preschool market.
Do you find that any of the kids are having difficulty with the full day at 4 years of age? I have one daughter, there's no way she could do it. The other 3 could in a heartbeat. She
Yeah,
took 2 naps.
for sure.
She was-
Go ahead and you can
Yeah,
answer
I
that,
think
Sarah.
it's
Yeah,
I had to change it so she could go to school.
super hard.
to say,
Yeah.
It is hard, and if I had the choice, I would move it to a half-day program. But OSPI says that we don't have that choice. Each of our buildings, we all run things slightly different depending on the teacher. But my kids, they take a nap every afternoon. We have a 45-minute, well, it's a 45-minute rest time, but I have some kids that will sleep for like an hour and a half. And the rest of us go about our day doing other things. They'll go outside with the para, come back in.
Well, they're
Today
tired
we
of
had a
listening to
lockdown
it.
drill. 4 of my children slept through a lockdown drill. I don't know if you hear how loud those alarms are. Like, these kids are tired. Because they'll come from maybe just being at home with their family, and then we're playing, but we're working them hard. They're exhausted.
Right.
So there is a rest time. Mr. Bergman has come to observe my rest time, and he's like, "You're getting paid for this?" And I'm like, "You come and watch the other."
I will only take nap time.
I deserve a little rest time too.
It was
but
so
yes.
calm in your room too. I would last 5 minutes before I was sleeping.
They fall asleep. Yeah. There was one time I had a kiddo that really wanted their back rubbed, and I would lay next to them and kind of, because I'm taller, the tallest teacher teaching the smallest kids. And then I would start to like realize I'm closing my eyes, and I'm like, oh, nope, okay, can't do that. Yeah, it's a very calm place, but yes. So yes, there are some kiddos, and there are some families that have chosen not to do our program once they
For
realize
that reason.
it's all day and 5 days a week, and that's just too much. They know that's too much for their kiddo. But
Yeah, that is part of the funding for TK from OSPI, and part of the regulations is that they get the same full day experience as a 5-year-old in kindergarten, and we have to pattern their schedule similarly to those. So that one's outside of our discretion. Because if we could do half day, we could have packed twice as many kids.
Right.
But that's not a choice we have. Yeah.
I would be double as tired, but I think it would definitely be beneficial. But
You have any other questions about TK?
No, thank you.
I do want to commend both Colleen and Sarah, but Sarah, she takes some of the most challenging 4-year-olds
Yeah.
that you will ever meet. Really, really challenging. I mean, we've had, some kiddos that are room clears, throw massive and it's an optional program. We're not required by law to take
Right.
these kiddos in, and Sarah's just done everything she can to keep them in the program, and we've seen growth. We've seen a lot of growth out of these kiddos. So when we say we take some of the most challenging kiddos, we absolutely do. And this year, especially, our TK students came in pretty hot, and like, holy cow, you guys really did a great job screening this year. You really brought them in. And, really what we're seeing is students that really have probably not had a lot of time off their device. And they come in, and it's almost like a 6 to 8 week cleanse. And by the time that period of time wears off, a couple of programs have been walking around the building, and they look like little kindergarten classes. I mean, Sarah's class, I was at a student of the month assembly, and you wouldn't have told me that they were the same class that started in September to now. I mean, there's no way you could have convinced me. So just appreciate your dedication, your grit in serving our students. It's so inspiring, Sarah.
Well, thank you so much. And you said something though that brought up something that we don't talk about enough. Part of our program is parents in education as well. It's not something we label, it's not something we like talk about or plan, but in our meetings with families, like even when I'm screening a family and I'm asking some questions in a way that tried really hard not to make it judgmental, because I'm not judging, I'm trying to figure out where they're coming from. And then as I'm questioning, they're responding like, oh, I might want to not let them have the tablet that much, or, oh, I might want to respond differently in these situations because it might be their oldest child, or they might not have had a kid go to school yet, and they really don't know, because to them, it's their 4-year-old, it's their baby. And to me, yes, 4-year-olds are still little kids, but they're capable of so much. And some parents just don't quite know that yet. And so we take that opportunity to really be educators of the families as well, to maybe get them off the technology a little bit.
I do want to also share that that we also really appreciate the principals at these schools that are taking on this extra challenge of having 4-year-olds that have never been in school. One of my friends in one of our early learning partners at ABC Academy, Christy Massey, always says they're not really 4-year-olds; they're 48-month-olds because they're still, kind of developing. And so the principals are meeting that with patience and flexibility, and with an attitude of helping students learn and be prepared. Manuel Ramos, Alicia Porter, and Phil Abril, who's not with us, being willing to really work and get in there and look at the placement decisions and rolling up shirt sleeves and really helping, because they know it benefits all of us when these students can get that learning and forth at that 4-year-old level and be ready to come in, ready to roll by kindergarten. So we appreciate them too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Anything else? Thanks.
All right, superintendent report.
All right, so we are back at it, second full week after break. I've been able to be in every building and in classrooms in every single school. Just the overall feeling that I get is staff are excited to be back and ready to get back to work. We had a really nice break. We didn't have any weather disasters, no broken pumps. We were able to run all of our athletics that occurred over break. So all in all, it was a great break, and people came back rested and ready to go. And that's the overall feeling that I got. Speaking of no break, or we're back at it, as legislative session started yesterday. And thank you, Deanna and Shannon. I'll let you guys talk a little bit more on board leadership about that. But it was a 2-day conference this year. It was on Saturday and Sunday. So thank you. And Sina was there. Thank you for giving up your weekend. We've talked about these are the big priorities really for the district are the MSOC special education, and this, continuing to keep transitional kindergarten fully funded in communities that need it the most. And Quincy is, if you talk about a preschool desert or an area that just does not have enough preschool opportunities, early learning opportunities, Quincy is one of that. So TK will definitely be a conversation in the legislative session about keeping it funded or not, and then MSOC and special education. So thank you guys for coming and leading in and giving up your weekends for that. And Yoana, who's not here, she did an awesome job speaking at the conference. And she did it on 2 days' notice. They just told her, actually, the day that she got there, you're on a panel. So she did amazing. dual language work group. We have a team of staff members, and you'll get a full update on this at our next board meeting from Victoria. It's our first district conversation around what a dual language program could possibly look like in the Quincy School District, whether it's at one elementary, all elementaries, we have no idea yet. So, and there's so many different variations of dual language, but it's, as a former multilingual learner teacher, I'm really, really excited about this. It's hands down the most effective multilingual learner program that you can have. It benefits both your native English and your native Spanish speakers. So you'll get an update on just kind of the initial meeting when Victoria comes here on the 28th. And it's hard to believe it, but on the 23rd next week, our first semester ends, and we begin our second semester the following week. So we are officially halfway through the school year. No pressure, LEL, you have finals probably coming up and all kinds of final assignments, not to put additional heat on anybody.
No pressure.
But no pressure. But we've just had an outstanding first semester. It's been really great. Really appreciate all the hard work of our staff and students and amazing support that we just continue to get from our families and community. Just very thankful for the first semester we have, and we're looking forward to an even better semester. We don't have school on Monday. You guys, no school for you guys, or on Friday, because Friday is Records Day. So next week is just a 3-day week for us here in Quincy. And then I don't want to steal your thunder, but I don't know if you have it down, but we have our first unified home basketball game tomorrow, and were you gonna talk about that? Okay, I'll be quiet. I'm really excited about it. So I'll let Lucina take that. And then Board Appreciation Month, just thank you so much. You guys you probably tired of me hearing me say it, but you have the hardest volunteer job, I would say, in the community. It's often thankless. You are sometimes the spearhead of all discontent. So I just really appreciate all that you guys do and all the support that you give our students, our staff. Just thank you so much. It's a hard job. So appreciate you all.
Thank you.
That's it.
Well, thank you. Speaking of student board reps report.
We do have a basketball game going on tonight, just in case. I'm not sure what time it ends or what time it starts, but I'm pretty sure they always have one like at 7:30. So if you have time, go. And then, like Mr. Bergman mentioned, there's a unified basketball game tomorrow. Try to go if you can. I know they want to support. They're trying to get the court filled just to have the support for them.
What time is it?
I'm not sure actually. I didn't get to see.
5 o'clock.
End of the semester is coming up. That means 20 more weeks of school, I think. 20 more weeks.
Are you a senior?
Yeah. What a coincidence. I just keep track.
Lucky guess.
Counselors came into English classes today to talk about scholarships for seniors, so that's coming up. And
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. No policy review or adoption today. Can't believe that happened. Any unfinished
Are you
business?
skipping the board leadership report?
Oh, I'm sorry. What? Am I on there?
I mean,
Board leadership report, sorry.
No.
So for you guys, while we're talking about you, one of the things we mentioned in board leadership, and Casey pointed this out from our WASDA meeting, it was talked about at the WASDA conference that student board reps had advisory votes. We actually have the policy and procedure in our current policy and procedures. We just haven't ever offered you the opportunity. So rather than just launching it on you today and saying, hey, you guys are gonna give advisory votes, we thought that moving forward, before we took a vote on anything, we would give you the opportunity to give advisory votes. And we can talk more about this and how we want it to work with the two of you moving forward in future reps. But the idea is that you guys would have the opportunity to vote or ask questions on anything on the agenda. Don't feel like you're stifled to just your reports. And then also you could abstain from anything that you didn't want to talk about. Like, for example, after this, we have some conversations you might not want to talk about, but so we just want to make sure you guys know, we are looking towards getting you guys advisory votes.
is that cool? Do you like that? Does that sound like you're something you want to participate in?
Yeah.
Or we can just shut it down and be like, no, we don't
Yeah.
want it.
yeah, I'm just,
I think what's cool is those votes by policy and procedure happen. You guys vote before we take formal vote.
Yeah,
So it really does provide good feedback for us.
and it doesn't have to just be a yes or no vote. By all means, share your opinions on what we're talking about and whatever's on the agenda. Like we want to hear back. The point is to hear back from you guys and to empower you as members of the board.
Thank you.
And then legislative reps, any reports from your weekend?
No, it was really good. I think it was really hammered, the big three of the things that are being emphasized the statewide, there's a big three. So the NSOC, the special education, and actually the other one for the rest of the state through WASDA was transportation. Which that one, while it does affect us, it's not quite as significant to us as the TK program. So in our report, we've done, well, Nick made this awesome graphic.
Jessica Blanca's made this.
Justin Blancas, Nick asked someone else to make
Yeah.
an awesome report.
I'm gonna give you credit you on that one.
Dr. Bergman was very delegating in that situation.
Yeah.
I did send this and a letter to our representatives today, and actually I didn't throw this in. I did send it also to Senator Wellman.
Oh, great. Oh, thank
So,
you.
because she was on the K-12 program committee.
Nice.
So, they've seen it straight from Quincy that it is costing us $7.9 million over a course of 5 years in some of these areas. So, yeah, we're just keep on keeping an eye on it and advocating when we have the opportunity to. We had dinner with Representative Ybarra. He came down and hung out with us for the evening, and he knows, they know, it's just a matter of really what can they do. And they always are seeking out people if there's an opportunity for them to take testimony or give scenarios, live scenarios. Alex calls Dr. Bergman on speed dial pretty consistently. So
Yeah.
we're very, very fortunate because you go into this legislative session and you're in this room with a whole bunch of other reps and they don't have personal relationships with anybody. They have no idea who their rep is half the time. And hey, he's in our neighborhood. So
Yeah.
we are very, very fortunate to sit where we are with that. So that's all I got.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, now I can say no policy review or an adoption this time. Do we have any unfinished business from this agenda? So new business, for our first item on new business is our letter to the WIA position letter. Do I have a motion to approve? So we'll approve in second and then we can discuss it if that works for everybody.
Make a motion to approve it.
Okay. All right, so approved and seconded. Do we have any questions? Do we want to make any edits to this or anything?
I would move to amend the document, the letter.
Okay.
As I've got written here, I can read that out to you if you'd like, but it's basically adding in the first paragraph that it's specific to amendments 7 and 8 of the policy. And then in the third paragraph, changing that we would consider their merits, striking that and including that to state that we reviewed the proposed amendments with careful consideration and that we strongly recommend that the WIAA vote to adopt amendments 7 and 8. So clarifying support versus just consideration.
But I think the deadline was yesterday.
No, the-
13th, so
The first vote's on the 27th.
They're-
The district votes are on the
the
25th.
5th, I think, was supposed to be the deadline, and it goes to the floor on the 3rd.
We had Brett come in, Fancher, and talk us through the whole process. So the district vote is the 27th. So that's where everybody in the 5th district, so the central part of the state will vote. And then they use parliamentary procedure. So if, say there's 10 districts, 9 of them vote for one or both of the amendments, then 9 votes go towards the regional meeting, which will be in April. I think we said.
Voting 19 to 18.
Yeah, so then, so 9 of the 10 would go towards vote yes, and then the last one would vote no. And it's, so every district, there's 3 districts on the east side and 4 on the west side, and then that vote will be in April. There is other interesting issues. The chair of the WIA can pull down any of the amendments at any time. It's our understanding. There are some legal challenge issues with both or either of these amendments, both like at a state level and above. But yeah.
And did you get my list of the other schools that were involved?
It did, yeah,
There's quite a number now.
yeah. Mostly, I think on our side of the mountain. Is that
All of them
correct?
are.
Yeah,
Or that I was.
Actually, no, there's one in Linden and Blaine. Brewster, I guess that's kind of north.
yeah.
Oh, Blaine's not, oh, that's the side.
Blaine's north.
Blaine is north by
Northwest.
Linden,
They're up by Bellingham.
by Bellingham.
Is there a Blaine on this side? My
No.
son's wedding.
No.
Good.
Plain.
Blaine? Blaine is out by Leavenworth.
Blaine.
Blaine is by Linden, up by the border. I actually have family that teaches there.
But aside from Casey's changes, do we have any questions or anything we want to add? My plan, just moving forward, my plan was, this was step 1. Really, the only way to affect any change is through the legislature. So like, we continue to voice our opinion with Alex and our legislators, we can draft a similar letter to them and share our feelings with them. And then encourage everybody in the community to do the same. Like our voice is just one of many, right? So if there's other people in the community that share our feelings, we need them to share that opinion with our legislators as well. Because until there's any move at Olympia, there's no move for any of this realistically.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about doing a resolution, and after a lot of phone calls, a lot of visiting and hashing it out, which I super appreciate. Because this one for me was a little bit more, I don't know why, I standing on the merits of the whole concept. So a resolution and not whether to do a resolution and do the letter, just anyways, it's still on the table. I'm still not off that kick. You're still gonna hear about it from me, because at some point, maybe, but there's a lot of things still happening on the federal level that's changing. There's stuff happening that is even more concerning. Currently, even today, stuff passed in our legislative session that is even more concerning. So I wouldn't say that this is the end all, that we're not going to give up just with this letter.
No.
If there's opportunity for us to advocate and fight for girls' rights, then we're going to continue to do that. At least I want to. I'm gonna hopefully you guys can get on board with me.
Okay.
My only other question was, as the president, technically I'm the mouthpiece for the board, would you guys all like to be signatories on the letter, or would you like just my signature to go on?
Well, I think it helps if we are.
If all five of us, okay.
Tia can add to- or we can add that, to four docs.
Yeah, we'll have Tia, if that works for Tia, we'll send it out as a board doc to sign. You know,
That'd be great.
So do we have to make a motion with these changes?
The motion was made, so it just requires a second, then we need to vote on.
I second it.
okay. So we will, just to advance, we're gonna vote on advancing the letter with these edits, correct? So we have a motion and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All opposed? The ayes have it. And then, so any additional new business? I don't think so. No work section tonight? Any requests for future topics? I wrote down the para conversation, continuing to have that with you, Rita, so we can add that to a future topic request for sure.
And I'd like to see more talks about financials.
Do like a work session or something with financial.
For understanding what's going on financially. To make any real consideration. See some of these contracts ahead of time. The same with hiring. We need to be a part of that. Not after the fact.
So
Hiring?
some financial literacy
Hiring.
conversation.
This one is not in our purview.
Yeah,
Part of our job. We only hire parents.
not when it comes to teachers and administration.
I think talk about that later.
Okay, we don't have any other business. I think we can conclude the meeting, right? You adjourn.